Blists Hill Victorian town in Shropshire revives the sights, sounds and smells of the 19th century.
Morning.
At its heart stands the pharmacy, a treasure house of potions and remedies from a century and a half ago. Now, in a unique experiment, historian Ruth Goodman, Professor of Pharmacy Nick Barber and PhD student Tom Quick have opened the doors to the Victorian pharmacy, recreating a high street institution we take for granted, but which was once a novel idea. They've brought the pharmacy to life, sourcing ingredients, mixing potions and dispensing cures. But in an age when skin creams contained arsenic and cold medicines were based on opium, the team are being highly selective. They're only trying out safe versions of traditional remedies on carefully selected customers.
Whoa, the start was like the Wild West. People didn't know what was good and bad.
Try and get a bit of speed up. Oh, there we go, yeah.
The pharmacy was something that affected everybody's lives in one way or another.
They're discovering an age of social change that brought healthcare within the reach of ordinary people for the very first time, heralding a consumer revolution that reached far beyond medicine to create the model for the modern high street chemist as we know it today. Having followed the evolution of the pharmacy through 50 remarkable years, Barber and Goodman's high street shop is approaching the end of the 19th century. The pharmacy has now moved into a new era of scientific understanding. Old ideas of what caused disease and how to treat it have faded away, and the foundations of modern medicine are firmly in place.
This is what the whole of the 19th century, in a sense, ends up as, isn't it? It's like a culmination.
It up to this, doesn't it? And all of a sudden we have this scientific knowledge. The pharmacist has the expertise.
We're stocking branded products, probably for the first time. We're not making them ourselves anymore.
Pharmacists are starting to look like, well, department stores.
One discovery that led to a whole new range of products was the understanding of pain relief. For thousands of years, medicinal plants had been used to control pain. But by the end of the 19th century, scientists had shown that the pain-killing properties of some plants were due to a chemical called salicylic acid. Nick and herbalist Eleanor Gallia are on the hunt for one of the most effective of these natural painkillers.
So what's this plant we're seeking?
Meadowsweet.
And what was it used for?
Digestive, calming digestive, very popular in rheumatism, pain relief. I keep thinking I see little bits of it. It's very small at the moment. There's some here, actually. Over here.
So the effects depend partly on the time of the year when it's picked and obviously the parts of the plant which are picked. And was that something which herbalists and chemists and druggists would have paid attention to? Hugely.
Very, very important, and especially so when traditionally the herbalists were collecting their own herbs and then dispensing their own herbs and making up their own tinctures and medicines.
So should we pick some meadowsweet then?
Yes, let's. Remembering all the time that this is just the very young growth. And it's used quite specifically in rheumatism and the pain that comes from that.
Yeah.
But really the main action, the anti-acid action, which is, it's got a lovely soothing action on the inside of the stomach. It helps the mucosa, the alkali, which actually protects the gut from the acid that's produced in the whole digestive process.
And we're going to make an infusion out of it, make it like a tea?
Yes.
With the rise of industrialisation and the expansion of towns at this time, what you've got really is a lot of people in one place, and pharmacies have a whole new group of people, these new urban dwellers that they're trying to cater to.
No longer just a provider of drugs and remedies, the Victorian pharmacy now sold a wide range of products which wouldn't look out of place in today's chemist shops.
When you walk into a pharmacy nowadays, you're seeing over 100 years of history in front of you. People wonder sometimes why there are things like perfumes in pharmacies, why there are things like, you know, products to do with dentistry, or some of them selling glasses and so on. And all these are activities which were happening in the Victorian era.
Towards the end of Victoria's reign, an emerging middle class with an increased disposable income looked to the pharmacy for more than just cures. They wanted to be pampered too. The pharmacist's expertise with chemicals left them well placed to take advantage of this consumer boom. Perfumier Alec Lawless is going to give Ruth a lesson in perfume making.
You brought some amazing stuff in here, Alec. This is things from the perfumier's trade, yeah? Things for making perfumes. And I suppose in the earlier periods, perfume was very much the reserve of the super rich, yeah?
Yes, yes.
And then that changes now?
It changes dramatically. What characterised this age was the beginning of mass production and branding. You could sell an eau de cologne and nobody was going to say you can't call that an eau de cologne. And so there were several perfumes like that. One was called Jockey Club. There was another one called Mule Fleur.
Right,
and another one called New Mown Hay. So basically these names became known as perfume. The other thing was that the pharmacists, because they'd been university trained and they liked experimenting, and they had this whole cornucopia, and a lot of the things that were used in apothecaries for medicine were also perfume ingredients.
I recognise half, most of the things. We've got a drawer full of myrrh sitting over there.
Okay. There you go.
That's sandalwood, isn't it?
Yes, sandalwood.
Yeah, we got a drawer of that up that end.
There you go.
Many of these are sort of ingredients that we'd have medicinally in the pharmacy anyway. How easy would it be for us as sort of, local pharmacists to invent a perfume of our own?
Well, a lot of them did, and I'm sure, like a lot of recipes at the time, these recipes come down, but it's basically what you had in the fridge.
Could you give us some advice on how to make our own, then? What sort of things should we do, and perhaps even a name? What sort of name would be appropriate?
Maybe we should pay homage to Queen Victoria in some way, and that would tie in very nicely with parts of the Empire, India. I mean, this is East Indian sandalwood. Finest...
that's powerful.
It's one of the finest of all perfume ingredients, and of course Queen Victoria is the Empress of India.
Empress of India?
Empress of India.
I have to say, it sounds a lot nicer than Jockey Club.
So
now all we've got to decide is how to make it smell nice.
Well, there were two oils and essences that were highly revered at the time, but still not used in perfumery because of the exorbitant cost. One of them was rose otto, and the other one was sandalwood from Mysore. So we're going to use both of those because we want our perfume to be really posh.
Yes, but also relatively cheap to make that we can sell for a high profit.
Good point. OK. Well, we can put some other things. We're going to put coriander in there.
Oh, that sounds a bit cheaper.
A really nice little top note.
Yeah. Daft thing is, when I said I was doing this, the boys want to have a go too.
Boys and perfume. Ooh.
Yeah, Nick and Tom both want to have a go too. We thought we might sort of, all have a go.
Why don't we split the perfume into top notes, middle notes and base notes, and then each of you can have a play around and come up with the combination for each of those that you like the best.
OK.
Is that OK?
I'll have a go with that.
All right.
Pharmacists were creating perfumes because they had the raw materials there, they had the plant products, the aromatic products, the essences, and also they needed to make money. Some money to deposit. Thank you. If you look in the chemists and druggists of the time, you'll see, whole pages of bankruptcies and so on. It was an expensive thing to be in. You needed to stock your shop, you needed to buy the shop or rent it and so on. So they had a lot of outgoings, and they needed the income to keep going as well. So they were diversifying into any areas to do with their knowledge, to do with the knowledge of chemicals and so on, which allowed them to make income.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Have a good day. Bye-bye. Hello, Eleanor. How are you?
Perfect time when kettle's just boiled.
Oh, fantastic. So, any chance of some of this meadow sweet tea, then?
For sure, for sure.
See what it was like being a Victorian taking a natural medicine.
Yes.
It was quite difficult in Victorian times with pain control. I mean, partly pain was thought to be there, sent there by God, so there's an issue about it. Yes, when they introduced chloroform to stop the pain of childbirth, there was a lot of religious leaders who were against it, saying it was stopping God's work being done. So there was quite a barrier to it. And so the movement against it was quite strong. You know, people were saying, this is against God's way. Most of the natural products that were used for pain control, where their only natural products were basically opium and cannabis. And Queen Victoria had cannabis for her period pains.
Yeah, what do the vicars say about that?
I don't know. I think perhaps I didn't tell him. Fantastic. Thank you. It's quite restorative as just a smell, isn't it?
Yes, it's lovely. Almondy. Good health, Nick.
Cheers. Good health. This is very good. I was prepared for a bit of a witch's brew, but this is good.
Plants like meadowsweet and also willow had long been used to control pain. But by the end of the 19th century, the active ingredient salicylic acid could be extracted using the latest laboratory techniques. By isolating salicylic acid from meadowsweet and willow, pharmacists could produce a range of pain-killing medicines. It's the key ingredient in modern, non-prescription painkillers, such as aspirin.
This is a source of salicylic acid. It's willow bark.
Oh, right, just from normal willow trees.
Normal willow trees. That, if you chew it, it's quite bitter, isn't it? Hippocrates, in 400 BC, was prescribing an infusion of willow leaves, not the bark, because you use the leaves of the willow tree as well as the bark, to ease the pain of childbirth.
God, 2,500 years we've known that this is a painkiller.
Yeah, salicylic acid can reduce pain. It also is antipyretic.
Right, so it reduces fever if you're hot and feverish.
It's anti-inflammatory.
Right, so things like rheumatism, or where you've got inflamed area of your body, your gums can be inflamed, all sorts of areas, yeah?
It'll help treat that. It's a bit of a wonder drug.
It is, isn't it? Well, it's still used in things like wart treatments. It's used in strong concentrations to like 60% to burn off warts.
The first step is to grind this bark down.
If Nick and scientist Mike Bullivant can extract the salicylic acid from the willow bark, then Nick can make up painkillers to sell in the pharmacy.
Having ground it, the next
How are we
step
going to get it out?
is to add some ether.
Ether? Why are we using ether?
The ether is a solvent that will dissolve the salicylic acid.
After allowing the mixture to settle, the solution is filtered to remove all the willow fibres.
What's coming through the filter funnel should be an ether solution of salicylic acid and other things. And the next step is getting rid of those other things. So we're left with as pure salicylic acid as possible.
So do you think this would have been worth it for the pharmacist in terms of the cost and the ingredients and stuff, and the sort of the yield of salicylic acid they get out?
Well, the yield's really low. I suspect we're going to get a very low yield.
Right.
Don't expect too much. But yeah, I think it would have been perhaps economical. I mean, if you had the time.
Yeah.
Because the willow bark is free.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. Takes time and patience, doesn't it?
No, like life. Take your time. Separating funnel in a minute.
Okay. So in goes the ether and salicylic acid and other things.
And other things.
To isolate the salicylic acid from all the other chemicals in the bark, it's first turned into a salt by adding sodium carbonate, better known as washing soda.
So if I give it a good shake, that's just getting the two layers and mixed up as much as you possibly can.
The two layers are separated out.
Perfect.
Then Mike adds dilute sulfuric acid to turn the salt into solid salicylic acid.
Whoa, see, that's neutralising the sodium carbonate and converting it back to acid, you see? It's changing the colour. And you see that white solid coming down? See that?
Absolutely.
Now that salicylic acid that's forming, you can see.
Yeah, the white salicylic
feathery
acid.
solid. So it's not looking too bad at the moment. It's heartening that we've got some salicylic acid.
It's amazing. Just 3 or 4 stages. We're going from pieces of plant all the way through to a pure chemical.
Just leave that to settle.
Fantastic.
If you look back to the start of the period, like sort of early 19th century, medicine's very much a personal thing, you know. You sort of maybe take your family recipe to the pharmacist to get it made up. And compare that with the end of the century when you're kind of putting yourself in the hands of a community of specialists who have trained for a long time and built up a different kind of authority. It's no longer what my parents did. Now it's who has the knowledge.
In a time when most people walked everywhere, relief from foot pain was in high demand. Local businessman Richard Ely has come to see what the Victorian pharmacy could offer for his problem.
Well, I have a rather painful but rather small corn on the inside of my little toe.
Oh, I see, yeah. You can sort of see a sore area, yeah.
The pain goes from my little toe up to my knee to the point where I have considered having my little toe amputated.
Really? As bad
Yes.
as that?
It offers Ruth an opportunity to find another use for salicylic acid. In stronger concentrations, the chemical Nick and Mike have made as a painkiller can also be used to remove warts and corns.
Well, the Victorian wonder drug for this, the thing that they invented, thought was going to transform the care, was salicylic acid.
Oh, salicylic acid.
And in fact, I've got... Well, actually, this is a modern preparation of salicylic acid. So there's a few other things in here to sort of carry the acid, and you could have it in a liquid form, or you could have it put on little corn plasters that you applied.
Yes.
You get a little tin, you know, with sort of medicated corn plasters.
Right.
So it's just...
Just at the side of the neck.
Just there, yeah?
Yeah.
That little area. There we go. And then that should sort of whiten as it dries, and you get a sort of skin over it, which sort of holds the active ingredient against the affected part.
So it does actually burn the skin away?
Yeah, it's sort of
Slowly.
slowly kills the whole area, and that allows the virus, basically, to be lifted out. So...
Now you see it?
Now you see it. No, you don't. Basically, you take that away and a drop every day on the same spot.
Drop every day, keeps the corn away.
That's the theory.
Nick is ready to use the same chemical, the salicylic acid he and Mike made, to prepare some cachets, thin rice paper capsules that he can fill with the finished drug. As a modern pharmacist, it's a skill he's never needed to learn before.
Yeah, Nick, here's your salicylic acid.
Oh, fantastic, mate. Well done.
Last time you saw it was in a filter funnel, and it looked like that.
Yeah.
I said I'd purify it by recrystallising it.
Right.
That was the result.
Yeah, fantastic. Yeah, really long needles.
Well, you wanted it really pure, didn't you?
Yeah, absolutely.
So I took the needles, and recrystallised them, and what ended up is really pure needles, which I've ground up. You asked for it ground, and that's it. So there's your pure salicylic acid.
Fantastic. What I'm going to do is stick them in these cachets. I'm going to have to mix that. It'd be such a small amount in each one. I'm going to mix it with something which is OK to swallow, like citric acid. Grind them together, make a nice mixture, and then we just put an amount in each of these cachets. And then we put the other half in this, close it up, and they stick together. You know those sweets, like flying saucers, they were called, like, or spaceships? Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. 2 halves of rice paper with some sherbet in the middle. You used to stick them in your mouth, and it used to dissolve, and the sherbet would be released. Because this rice paper is, you know, as you know, once it gets wet and a bit of acid on it, it will fall apart and release the powder.
God,
ready for action.
Oh, well. Well, there you are. Don't use either of those, because they're impure.
Yep.
That's what you work with.
Brilliant. Thanks very much, mate. See you later. See how this goes. This will be the top half of each cachet. They're quite delicate, so I'm a bit worried about cracking them. I don't quite know how far to press them in. They're quite a tight fit. Fingers crossed. Yeah, there's a dampness there. Press these down and hope. That's all we can do at this stage. And now, fingers crossed. Yay! Look at that. Fantastic. And now you use this thing to push them out as well. I'm really pleased about this. I didn't think it would work anywhere near as well as that. Look at that. Perfect cachets. Holding together. You can hear the powder inside. You know, what we've been through is just a remarkable process, really, which doesn't happen nowadays. It's the sort of thing which everything's manufactured and standardised and so on. But we started with willow bark, a natural product, and we chemically extracted the key element, and we've put the salicylic acid in here in this dose form ready to give to a patient, or as a Victorian person would give to a patient.
Salicylic acid was an effective painkiller, but could be a stomach irritant. The big breakthrough came in 1899, when aspirin, a chemically altered version of it with less side effects, was released onto the market. Whatever the content, cachets allowed pharmacists to dispense a pre-measured dose. The practical problem for the patient was swallowing them. Student Tom Chandler has volunteered to try one out.
Powders put inside two halves. The texts of the time say just take it down like an oyster.
Okay. Is there any more advice than that you can give me?
If you're not an oyster eater, it's not very helpful, really. But I think you're going to have to work it out for yourself. Okay. Are you willing to give it a go?
Yeah, why not? Okay.
There you go. So dunk it in the water.
Okay, just get a bit wet.
That's it. Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
Then
in your mouth, back of the tongue.
Okay.
And swig it down, swallow it.
Oh. Feels like it's stuck about here. Oh, my goodness.
It's big, isn't it?
Yeah.
You wouldn't get a modern tablet that size.
No.
But as it softens with the water and the moisture of your body, it will start deforming and be easier to go down.
Yeah, I can feel it sort of like moving.
Whereabouts is it now?
I think it's about here. It's going slightly lower.
Well, it'll work its way down, and in reality, you'd have a biscuit or a piece of bread with it, or something like that, if it was stuck, and then it just sort of physically knocks it down into the stomach.
There we go.
And then it dissolves there and releases the drug, and then cures your headache, hopefully.
Oh, thank you very much.
But I bet you're glad science has moved on and now we have aspirin tablets.
Oh, yes, I'm so glad. The little small things rather than those, yeah, definitely.
Absolutely.
Nick, Ruth and Tom are receiving a crash course in perfume making as they try to create a scent that would have appealed to the Victorian nose. 19th century perfumers applied scientific ideas to the ancient art of perfume making. They used musical terms to describe how a scent should be constructed. This symphony of smell was made up of 3 separate mixtures of fragrant oils, known as the top, middle and base notes, which evaporate at different rates on the skin. Perfumer Alec Lawless has given Tom the job of making up the long-lasting base note.
It seems like 2 of these are a lot stronger than the other 3.
Yes.
And I was wondering, like, if I'm sort of making... Is it the base note?
Yes, yeah.
What's the idea? Is it...
These things are the most tenacious, and the reason for that is that they're heavier molecules in either the top or the middle notes.
OK, yeah.
So they're going to retard the evaporation of the perfume.
Oh, so it's the sort of bits that comes out last, basically.
Yeah, that's exactly right. So this will be what's left on the skin. Now, all of these...
Nick has been entrusted with the most expensive ingredients.
The smell is so intense that it's sort of driving out anything else that's taken it.
These are the middle notes, so it's a floral heart, the main personality of the perfume. And these guys are really expensive.
Right.
The powerful fragrances are proving a little too much for Ruth.
The lady is very sensitive and delicate.
You told me these were not overpowering. You lied.
Oh, really?
They are really... Sorry.
OK. Well, you're obviously incredibly sensitive.
Well, I smelt all 4 of them first, by which time my nose was beginning to burn.
Yeah. OK.
And then I thought, well, the one I liked best still was the bergamot oil, so I put more of that in. And you'd mentioned that the lime was particularly strong, so I put least of that in.
Yes, I'm going to go for that one if
Second
I'm
one.
number 2.
If the team's efforts can be combined into a popular perfume, then the Empress of India scent could be a real money spinner for the pharmacy.
Now, in order to have this some sort of structure, these would be blended roughly. I'm going to do 50% of it's going to be the floral heart, number 2, 20% the top notes, and 30% the base notes. Just as a rule of thumb. And I'm also going to put some musk in there. And 1 or 2 other things. And then...
So they make it into entirely your
Well,
own
they were too expensive to let you play with.
Alec blends the 3 sets of fragrant oils together to produce the finished perfume.
So if you wave it around a bit to encourage the oxygen to accelerate the evaporation.
Okay. I mean, I didn't smell either of your 2 independently, and this certainly smells very different from mine did when it's blended.
That's all right,
It's quite complex, isn't it?
That's quite nice.
I think it's really funny that it's you chaps who are enjoying the perfume more than me.
Oh, it's great fun.
I think all we need to do now is get that properly bottled and a nice label on it, and then start making some money out of it.
Exactly.
Right.
We can have different dilutions for different people.
Yes, different classes.
Yes.
Ruth is keen to find out if the Empress of India will be a hit with the ladies of the town.
Good morning.
Hello.
Oh, hello.
Hello. I wonder if you could help me. I'm doing a little bit of market research about perfume.
Yeah. I love perfume.
Really?
Yes, I do, yeah.
Yeah.
It's a very fine bottle.
It is, isn't it? It's nice, isn't it? Let me know what you really think. It's quite a potent one, so just have a little sniff first, see what you think.
Oh, yeah, it is, isn't it?
It's quite strong,
Strongish,
isn't it?
yeah. Oh, it's lovely. Yes. It's quite flowery.
If I just pop just a tiny little bit on there.
Yeah.
Oh, it is a strong one, isn't it?
It's growing on me.
Well, that's a good sign.
Not nice, is it? Not nice. I think it's more for you than for me.
One of the things the perfumer was saying to me was that it smells different on everybody. Yes.
Oh, it's beautiful.
Yeah?
Yes,
Your
it smells
sort of
quite
thing.
expensive. Yes,
It
I
would
like
have been
it very
expensive at the
much.
time. In the Victorian period, you begin to see perfumes getting a little bit cheaper so that people like schoolmistresses could afford occasionally a little bit of perfume.
I'm going to have some for Christmas, I think.
You really think this is something that you would actually enjoy, that would stand up against a modern perfume?
Oh, definitely. It's quite a strong, powerful smell, yes, and it's quite flowery, which is lovely. Thank you very much for popping in.